In a second. I need to pee and get more tea.
Hey Kheim, I get you. I'm pretty laid back when it comes to all this type of shit. Oh, yeah, my tournament days in Demon Souls, that was Fire Ruler. The first tournament band setup. I took some inspiration from a Japanese player that used a setup called God Ruler. Essentially, you could knock someone down with a Storm Ruler weapon, and it had knockback long enough to catch him in a full Firestorm spell. And it was the first band setup.
So you're telling me is you're the first Grim? Using using every setup you'll use is eventually banned?
Exactly, yeah.
I think and there was the cat while you're gone.
There was a... Oh no. I hate
and
all of you.
some degree of penis.
I would never. Hello, Dashing. How are you keeping, darling?
Getting a setup banned is base, not gonna lie. Thank you, Kheim.
I think there's a... what was it? Believe it or not, Steel has a very interesting take that is good. That try-hard is maybe the wrong word for an awful lot of players in these. That maybe, like, I think something like comp player makes an awful lot more sense. Sorry. Because I think it's scent, yes, scent.
Because you can smell them.
Because you can smell, so this is so sweaty, yeah. I think that's probably a better way of putting it, because there's an awful lot of... oh god, what am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm trying to string a sentence together, okay?
The point that I'm trying to make,
Yeah.
that I am one of the oldest tryhards, is my setup was so strong, it got banned. So I was told that I could not compete with a setup that other people had found counters to. So I just was like, okay, guess I gotta step away, because if I can't run my setup, then why should you be able to run your shield poke setup? Why should you be able to run like your full regen setup if my setup gets banned, but your setup, which encourages fights that last 45 minutes?
Yeah. And it's a different way of looking at the game as well. What I found with yourself is you're very build focused. And an awful lot of the DS3 heads, at least in my opinion, are very mechanical focused, very kind of like focusing on the button presses and stuff like that rather than the builds. Because I think that game, more than others, definitely encouraged that. Because it was so less knowledge check and more mechanical, I suppose, at the higher ends. Which
Come on, Hobo. Come on, hop in. It's all good. I'm kind of commandeering Ender's stream.
No, you're fine. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Dash. That's because everyone used the same 3 or 4 builds. Yeah, because they were the only good builds in the game that were able to compete with each other. You can dislike it, but that's just how it is. Oops, nice. I don't mind having my setups banned so long as it's fair. Well, I mean, look at 3. We don't want 45-hour matches.
Oh, come on. You're telling me that the Grim Sleeper fight that lasted like an hour 40 was not exactly what you want when you boot up DS3 after work?
No, not really, no. I remember watching, I did a little fight club, and of course the slopper slopped in. And I think he had a fight with Kandamir recently that lasted about 20 or 30 minutes, and I was just saying the entire time, this is utterly pointless. You have like 300 ping. You're both running triple, if not more, regen. It's like, what are you doing? Just ban the poison buff on Gru and I think you're good to go.
Where do you think the golden time period is for a duel? How long should a duel last on average?
Probably about maybe 2 to 3 minutes, maybe?
Oh.
You can have some slogfests.
Welcome in, Hobo.
Thank you. I didn't realize you were in the call earlier. Someone I was messaging in chat. I'm like, fuck, he must have died. Or he's still taking.
Yes,
Hey.
the poor dashing saint.
Hate the master.
Before-
Into the master.
Dead before 1.07 came out and everybody hated Elden Ring.
Try na dash. But
All right, Hobo, what's up?
The
we said
tree.
1.07. Okay, yeah, but what I was referencing earlier, geez, I have goldfish memory, so let me scroll up.
Not having.
I was mentioning how, like, less balance usually means less variety because it narrows down the viable options that anyone can use to like a handful of setups. And that's why Dark Souls 3 is more like mechanics focused than build focused because there's only so many viable builds.
Well, you can force variety through in a comp system. Like, imagine if we had weapon bans. If there were only like 10 weapons, and you could essentially have a system where weapon bans were a thing. I
That
think
would
that
just
would be
turn
really
Elden Ring
I'm not
into
opposed.
fucking Tekken.
I have played League of Legends. I know
You
how.
poor
Oh,
bastard.
God.
You poor
I know.
bastard.
I
Why?
played League of Legends in season like 2 or 3 back in the day.
Why?
So trust me, I am a grade A masochist.
Let me turn you down, Hobo. Let me get all the
Oh,
audio
sorry.
levels. Gucci.
I am a wee bit loud. I
Yeah, no,
suppose.
you're okay.
And I'll go
Okey-doke.
back to my nice.
But yeah,
gentle whisper
just in reference to,
ASMR
like-
voice.
Mhm.
Just having like a specific number of like bans that you could put on specific items could work, but then I just feel like that's just a band-aid on like a gangrenous fucking wound. That's
Well-
So me and Amir actually spoke about this on the podcast before Enda's, and we were talking in similar conjunction to how like patches can only band-aid a problem so much. Elden Ring is doomed forever to be imbalanced. You cannot have
that I kind of
Fight me
feel
on
the
that.
need
Fight
to
me on
interrupt
it.
you.
Yeah.
there.
Could you
Go
let
ahead.
him finish, Hobo? Come
I
on.
thought he kind of was,
I'm
but
giving Hobo
Yeah.
like time to like interrupt me. Go ahead.
sorry, I thought that was kind of the crux of the point there. But like I see where you're going with that, like kind of comparing player-made restrictions in PvP to balance patches. I just fundamentally disagree with that because balance patches change the mechanics of the game, how the actual code functions, individual values. No amount of player banning or anything can do that. It's fundamentally different. You get a different game, essentially.
Hold that thought for 1 second. Kheim, I know you got horrible work tomorrow, but I wish
There's
you
a
best of
Kheim.
luck, mate. And
Mhm.
thanks for stopping by. Enda's.
I'll take care of God.
No.
Ooh,
Is Kheim the French one? I don't remember.
That was a good guard break, Enda.
Got a guard break? Shit, I didn't even see it.
Oh, okay. Continue with your point, Hobo.
Oh geez, I have goldfish memory. What was I saying? I think I said something along the lines of
Band-aid
like balance. Yeah,
balance is like in this stage it like is the key rather than banning individual weapons because that's only a band-aid on a problem that already exists out in the wild.
right. And I feel like comparing. Yeah, I feel like comparing balance changes to also being a band-aid on a wound is kind of misleading because like preventing certain. What?
It would change the wound in that sense if we're keeping the same analogy, right?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair way
It's
to put
essentially
it.
your point. Yeah.
The way that I look at it,
It's-
so like the problems with the damage numbers. I think when people think of balancing, they just think of the numbers that are involved, which is a little bit misleading. Like you could see a patch tomorrow that like reduced the amount of equip load you could get off for each endurance, each point
That'd
you
be
put into
huge, yeah.
endurance, which would be amazing, because you'd see a huge uptick in the amount of lower poise builds because they want to maximize their damage. They're making a trade-off. Or, for instance, a balance change in this game could be something simple as adjusting the recovery or the startup windows in certain actions, which would also be huge. Like there's an awful lot
They
of ways
did
you
that
could-
recently, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With the great swords, and they're still not great compared to everything else, but they're usable now. We're seeing this guy here having a good old time.
Great
They
axes
still,
are actually fairly good too, in that respect.
They still haven't fixed the negative hyper armor you get from great swords though,
Which is very
kind of
funny.
sweet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the idea of great swords being like a low poise hyper armor option, but you have to make the hyper armor worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to not suck dick.
Let me
Mhm.
give you guys a little thoughts problem for you.
Okay, then.
So, let's say in ER, you get a bonus on your character, depending on what ending that you get. Okay, so let's say, for example, you go for
You
the
kind of
Ronnie
do
ending.
technically with the Flame of Frenzy, but yeah, I get you.
You go for the Ronnie ending, and you get, like, no matter what, you could be stripped down naked. You have 30% magical absorption, no matter what. And you can stack that with whatever you want. You get the Flame Frenzy ending. You are immune to madness and sleep.
You kind of get something like that with the Flame of Frenzy. I see where you're going with this, though. Like, different endings unlocking, like, permanent buffs to the character.
If something like that was in the game, then people would game the absolute shit out of it. They would be running Ronnie ending, but then they would always be wearing something that would, like, boost their lightning defense, their fire defense, because then they don't have to worry about magic.
Oh, that's not even... I mean, that is a problem, but, like, my bigger problem is, like, imagine the twinking potential with that. Lord mercy.
I mean, people already game, like Hobo was mentioning, they already game the Flame of Frenzy ending. They make it to where they get the Flame of Frenzy ending so they can use the warming stones that apply frenzy to people who haven't opted in for that ending. So,
and that's actually a tangible advantage that you get from taking that ending. I kind of think it's kind of a bad thing, or at least what they should do is make the warming stones inflict frenzy if you have that. Yeah. So then you have to use the Frenzy Stones.
Right, but one of the nice things about that is you don't have to actually get that ending. You just have to...
opt into it.
Yeah, opt into it.
Well, that's not...
The issue I have with all of these things is, like, you're going to force... The amount of people who can actually compete are going to be the people who actually, like, found those endings and stuff like that. And which I don't think is a good option. I think that's like drastically reducing the potential player base in a game we're already struggling to fill brackets in. So,
and then that brings us to the next problem. What a very competitive game would look like. So FromSoft has another series called Armored Core, and yeah, the amount of spec that you can do in Armored Core, it's fucking nuts. Like, G9 and I were talking about the other day, and he said something along the lines of, in Armored Core, like, imagine one, like, arm part of your robot, your mech, is, like, one full, like, build. And then you've got everything else to deal with on the mech as well, so it becomes more complex. Oh, hey, Kheim.
While that can be harder to balance, like, it's not inherently a bad thing, it's just more difficult to make it work. Which, considering how From can barely handle a game like Dark Souls 3, I don't trust them with Armored Core.
Exactly.
Yep, unfortunately. And that's been one of my concerns all the way through, is I don't know if From have the capacity to balance this thing. Because as much as I shit on it, and as much as I'm like negative and cynical and deplorable and everyone leaves and gets upset, the one thing you have to remember is this is the most amount of potential we've ever seen in a From game on a mechanical level. The mix-up potential you have, the variety of weapons that are useful, the amount of just stuff that's usable here. Consumables are usable. Power stancing is usable. Single-handing certain things is usable.
Certain things.
Well, obviously, there's always going to be a meta Hobo, no matter what way you cover it. Yeah, you just want the most amount of variety in it, and it's such a shame to see all that potentially go to waste, because FromSoft have no idea what they're doing to a degree.
I unironically think they should outsource game patches. Like they, like, not only for balance sake, but they kind of suck at coding. Like, FromSoft is actually deeply incompetent when it comes to writing code. Like, their actual code monkeys are literal code monkeys, I'm certain, at this point. Like, how the fuck do you forget to remove the part of a Rot Dog's hitbox animation that resets the attack window?
Oh god, the bleed dogs. Don't even remind me. Anyway, before we go off track, Kheim popped in. He's got work tomorrow. Let's hear what he's got to say. Hey,
yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just about to say that FromSoft has a history of always like focusing on PvE and always, like, even the Armored Core is mostly focused on PvE. Like, the thing is, like, PvP for them, I think it's just a philosophy they have, that PvP for them is just like a side aspect of the game.
Well, you have to keep in mind the onus is kind of on the community for those games, because those games were mainly PvE focused in the community themselves. Like PvP was always going to be a side project for that community. They never really focused on it. That was never really the biggest part of either Armored Core or Dark Souls, Demon Souls, or Elden Ring now.
Right. Although
It's always been the PvE.
I feel like with each game, FromSoft has slowly been recognizing the importance of PvP for the longevity of the game.
It's because not only the longevity, but also because multiplayer makes the most money in the world right now. That's probably why they're so invested.
Well, it does in the FGC. There's in other games not so well, but I don't know.
No, multiplayer making money just in general as
Yeah.
far as game sales go. Like multiplayer games are the biggest games that exist right now. Like imagine, like even like free to play games. Those are some of the biggest games in the world, and they're all usually multiplayer, right? So.
A lot of code gets copied, programming just has bugs. Check your fucking code that's 10 years old!
Yeah,
Holy
that's
shit!
also their engine problems are also a thing that they haven't switched
They don't
engine.
annotate their code, they don't rewrite their code, they don't outsource it to make sure that other fucking companies can check it to see how fucking retarded they are. I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
Hey,
Hobo.
careful,
Hey.
Hobo. Yeah.
Gamer
Hobo.
language is what they're doing. But
Yeah.
like,
Hobo,
Christ,
can I get you on my podcast?
Be a bit
I'd
more
get banned
animated
off
than
of
I was,
Twitch.
I'll give you that.
I'd get banned off of Twitch within like 2 days, but I think if I'm gonna crash and burn, might as well get you on.
well, I'll tell you, they haven't got me on Twitch yet, and I've said a hell of a lot worse.
The it's I don't know. I've heard stories that you have to be careful with that word, but yeah, don't do it again or I'll boot you. So just so you're aware.
You're good. Mm-hmm. But memes aside, though, like, it really does just come down to like it's fine to be defensive of programmers because they get a lot of shit from people who don't know any better. But specifically in the case of FromSoft, it is deep, abiding incompetence and it bugs me. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, you have to keep in mind the scale of this game, and I mean, like, I'm going to defend them here. I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't really think that they're entirely incompetent. Like, as far as the blood dog goes, the example that you brought up earlier, that could just boil down to the fact that this game is so huge, and that was a leftover asset. You know, the bigger dog's hitbox wasn't something about the smaller dog's hitbox being used on a bigger model of the dog. That's definitely something that could have just been lost in translation. I think there are a lot of issues like that in this game, and of course, FromSoft isn't going about the speed. Rude bears. But FromSoft isn't fixing them in the speed that they need to.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's really their biggest issue. Is they're very, very slow at putting out these fixes, and they put out very little fixes when they do put out fixes at the same time. So it's a very low quantity and a low volume of bug fixes that are coming out, which I think is their biggest issue. Not the fact that there were bugs in their game, but just that they're not fixing them in a timely manner.
I mean, on the plus side, like, we have been fighting to get like solo invasions back on the table or getting like larger invasion pools. So I am glad that they finally introduced crack. That's what we're calling this. It's not Wex. Wex was only for invasions. This is crack. Crack allows anybody to get summoned in from anywhere or anybody to invade from anywhere. It's crack. Copyright the Dashing Saint. Everybody's doing crack now, and everybody's happy on crack. You take
What's
the
your
crack away.
And
The crack right now is about 70, my friend. We're going pretty good.
Right, but going back to what you were saying there a bit ago, like that is a fair point to understand. That can't be ignored. Just like a lot of what seems, the perceived incompetence comes from
Slow.
The rate at which they release things. Mm-hmm. My issue is tertiary things that people don't really talk about. Like, for other game companies will have their code reviewed by third parties to make sure that shit is not out of order. And a lot of Japanese devs don't do that. It's simply not a practice. And that is indicative of the kinds of problems that get left behind in Elden Ring.
Also, once again, just to clarify why people think I'm saying crack. Crack is like the oldest terminology in the Soulsborne community. Back in Demon Souls, like, there was a weapon called Cursed Weapon. And if you did it with a talisman you couldn't use properly, it had the exact same effect, but without any of the negative effects. So that's where the whole crack thing comes from. Just before everybody's
Interesting.
like, "Oh my God, Dashing is advocating for drugs on Twitch."
Damn straight.
And then I made a crack, which is like a thing where it's just basically means mood.
The other thing to keep in mind is like, this is one of the things that I get so frustrated about, particularly old gens, is, oh, it's FromSoft, they do FromSoft things, yeah, but this is the biggest game they've ever done, with the biggest, widest appeal they've ever done. Every week that another patch is delayed, we lose a potential Fury, or we lose a potential Kheim, or we lose so many new players as a result of their poor balancing. That's
You'd
like
lose me, but I'm already
lost me,
insane,
I'm not-
so.
Sorry, Kheim?
No, I was saying they completely lost me to the edge. Like I'm not playing.
You're not playing at all, no?
Nah.
Fuck.
Does anyone else have trouble during Kheim, or is it just?
Yeah, he's very quiet. I'll be the interpreter.
My mic is quite. My mic is quite far away. Like you can turn up my volume if you say that.
No worries, just making sure.
It's pretty bad when I can barely hear you. God, no offense.
So I just wanted to mention, you mentioned the fact that we're losing like Furies, we're losing good players basically.
No,
essentially.
I mean like we're losing a new one. We're losing that new top tier. That could've come
I
in,
know.
yeah.
That's what I mean. Is that we're losing those potential good players, right? Because the community is getting smaller and smaller with every day. I think, yes, it's FromSoft's fault, but I also feel like the community could be doing a lot more as well, at least in the PvP sphere. We've had conversations about this.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about it. I feel like there's a lot that can be done in the PvP community itself to make new players come in and new audiences come in and have more eyes on PvP. I know the people at PvP have done the thing where they've made that website, and I think that's a good step in the right direction. But what first needs to be done is people need to start playing this game and watching this game and being able to, find a passion within this game. I don't think a website really is going to help with that. Yeah, it's going to help communicate with the developers, but if you don't have a player base to communicate to those developers, then there's no real value.
Well, the problem is we've been.
I'm not going to add anything to that.
Yeah.
The
I'm not
website
gonna say
isn't
anything.
intended to fill that purpose, if I could just say so.
No, it's not. But that's something that the leaders of the community, PvP, that's basically what they are. They are the leaders of the
comp scene, but we need more than just the comp scene. I think, in terms of that, the Wex Dust change is a huge one, or the invasion crack is definitely a very, very good tool to use to get people back invested in the game, because now they can actually get activity. It's a band-aid fix. It doesn't deal with the core issue that you can't get solo invasions.
But it helps.
But it's going to definitely help, and I know people have been memeing, and I think they're kind of running away with it a little bit too much, that it saved the game. I don't think it has per se. It's definitely made a difference, though. It's definitely made a huge difference in terms of the longevity.
Right. It just might be a bit hyperbole on their part, but it's not wrong necessarily, just hyperbolic.
How many core issues do you guys think there currently are within the game? Because if I were to rack my brain and find them, I could probably only find really 4 that I think are core issues that can't be found. You think there's 27?
What?
The 4 that I think are very much core issues that need to be fixed in order for the game to grow even more than it already has are input drops, the 2-minute disconnect, solo invasions, and the damage of weapons. I think those are the only real core issues that need to be fixed for this game to grow. I think there are other issues, but I don't think there are more core issues to the game.
I think another thing, just very quickly, another thing I think to add to that is tracking. Across the board needs a very hardcore nerf.
God damn it, you guys got 1 through 5 right there.
The tracking of thrusting swords is absolutely stupid, and
I mean, I think that's more of a you played the other games and that's a preference. I don't think the tracking in this game is necessarily bad for the game itself. It's just different from the other
disagree.
ones.
Yeah, hard
Considering
disagree.
how no. Considering how busted shield poking is, and how it's the best fucking thing you can do.
Is that a tracking issue, or is that more of a shield?
That is a tracking
issue. It is a tracking issue as well, yeah.
100%
the issue
the tracking
doesn't come
issue.
from tracking, though. The issue comes from the fact that shields have high or low durability or endurance loss when they're shielded. Like that
That doesn't
only
matter
reason.
when we're talking about strafing and backstabs. You
Yeah,
you could
why-
have a
why
buckler
should
or
the
a fingerprint
solution-
shield.
Hang on, hang
Oh,
on, hang
children,
on, hang
children,
on,
children.
hang
A little bit of
hang
overtalk,
on,
we're good.
hang on. If we're gonna go into this, we gotta have Lupine in here because Lupine knows
Oh
this
my
better than most.
Oh, me oh my. Lupine?
But here's the thing: why
Lupine?
should backstabs be the solution? You guys are again thinking in a Dark Souls 3, thinking in other entries in the series.
I see where you're going with that, and I want to interrupt because I think, as someone who's never been a big guy into backstabs, I don't want that to be the only solution to shield poking. I want it to be an option, at least an option. It doesn't
But
have to
again,
be the
that's-
only one.
That's a preference.
But
That's you
Well,
want to
it's
about the
damaging.
balance
It's
factor.
damaging. It's
But
damaging.
there are other
Oh, hey, Wes.
solutions that could potentially also fix that issue. It doesn't necessarily boil down to tracking.
you could
You see what
do
I'm trying to
both a tracking nerf and a nerf to, like, stamina loss on shields.
Yeah,
on
but
certain shields.
But does that make it a core issue? Just because there are multiple ways to solve the issue of shield poke and stuff
Well,
like that.
consider
doesn't mean
that
that
the
tracking is a
tracking.
core
So can I step in very quickly? When
Yeah,
I say tracking, let's look at something like an S stock, right? You have an S stock which has, if I can recall correctly, let's actually test. Full 360 degree, I can go until like the last couple of frames. I have full rotation all around the S stock. It is impossible to strafe it. It is actually impossible to strafe it because
That
the
makes the
window is
weapon
too
broken.
generous. Yes, it does, because now if you're on low health, you cannot aggress. You also have no counterplay against it if you are in close or have a setup which demands you to be in close, unless you
yeah.
can outburst them.
So
That
here's
is
the
not
thing,
healthy
you
for the game.
can't aggress at low health versus the S stock, but that doesn't make the S stock broken. It just means that you're playing toward the strengths of your weapon. I don't think an S stock. I think that's a strength of the S stock. I don't think that makes the setup necessarily.
What do you think, Dashing?
I agree with Enda here.
Yeah,
Like 100%.
This is a
You
yeah.
cannot argue with a literal fucking fencer when it comes to thrusting.
Okay, yes you can, but
No, you can.
if
You can
guys-
argue with him, and then
The-
you can end up being a shish kebab.
That is very true. He is on the money,
Alright.
but we can.
He'll end up since I'm from America, I can make this joke. He'll end up like a Swiss cheese. Okay, that's all. I'll say.
I'm American and I'm disappointed in you.
It was funny though. Okay, get him.
Alright, but memes aside, like the issue with tracking isn't just in regards to shield poke.
Yes.
It's in Enda touched on it. It's kind of with pretty much all thrust weapons.
So let's look
Like-
at even an R. It's not even just thrust weapons. Like, I can spin on a dime with my R1 here. I can just literally. It is almost like the last few
That's
frames
not
of
tracking though.
it. That is
that's not-
tracking.
Well, actually, if I could,
No.
this is a distinction I have to make here.
Mhm.
There is a difference between lock-on tracking
Yeah,
and free-aim
exactly.
capabilities while locked off. I
That's
think
what I was
you could, you could reduce the tracking while locked on, while still keeping the free-aim potential while unlocked. Because for you to actually catch someone going a direction, you have to read them going in that direction. Or, yeah,
If you wanted to test tracking into, let me run circles around you and you do your.
make sure you're locked on.
You,
though.
you
I am
don't-
locked
you
on.
Don't have to. You don't have to do any that type of testing. In fact, Stowe has already compiled all that type of information. In fact, we're working on a document to help with absorptions and just ranges of weapons and how they can be improved.
Ooh, that's quite nice.
Interesting. If you could link that to me in DMs or even just put it in the server, that would be
Stowe,
absolutely incredible.
sorry, Enda, you're already in the Stowe court. You should
Oh,
have access
is it
to this
already
shit.
there? I'll have
Yeah.
to have another peek. In
It's
the
in the
story.
Elden Ring math section.
What are you gonna? Were you trying to say something there, Kheim? You are still very quiet.
Oh no, I just don't have anything to say. I don't play Elden Ring anyway, so like
No worries.
Yeah, it's
there's
just
not much I can add, Like I can just read about this frame of the game.
But again, I just want to mention, just because weapons have good tracking, while locked on or locked off, either way, it doesn't necessarily mean that the weapon is broken. Like, you can aggress on certain weapons, while either A, not at low health, or B, at low health, even with good tracking, if you time your poise breaks correctly, right? And your
that kind of
spacing.
replies. Sorry. I thought it cut out for a second. I thought you finished talking. Sorry.
No, it's fine. You did cut off my train of thought, so that's basically then. But yeah,
Oh shit.
you're fine.
My bad.
You-
But
you can
yeah,
reply.
I feel like it takes away from the available strategies that you can use against something and requires very linear playstyle against something, which isn't necessarily bad in and of itself. But considering how good like an off stock is, and that you could pair it with other weapons that can cover those weaknesses,
Where's
like
an offstock very powerful though, other than in the halberd setup? And even with a
that's all
halberd
you
setup,
need.
halberds aren't the best weapon in the game right now. Halberd offstock isn't the best setup in the game, and that's not even considering the broken ones. Let's say straight swords. Straight swords are probably the strongest non-broken setup in the game that aren't inherently flawed. And then outside of that, it's probably short spears or heavy thrusting swords.
I feel like you're kind of oversimplifying this. It's not. We're not necessarily saying it's the best setup or it's broken. I'm using these examples to illustrate how there can be balance issues, regardless of whether or not it's "quote unquote" the best. Some things have to be.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kheim. This guy, Iron Ink, he took part in my community side of the Como se dice, charity run.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a chat probably right now.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good. I
Yeah,
was making some faces, my
Yeah.
friend. God damn.
I was the same. Like the combo was pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
If you want to pick me up, hey, yo.
Yeah, this is Amir. Hey, Amir.
Anmer, GG's, dude. I'm starting to see the great sword, my friend. Interesting.
That was cool.
That was very nice. Enda, why am I not a mod? Because you're a very important person. Dashing.
I'm not for everyone, please.
Do you want to be? I don't want you to be doing work for me. This is if
Do
you're
I have
in
to
here.
go on like one knee, Enda? Will you take me as your mod?
I'm gonna leave that sentence. And any of those thoughts where they were, I can mod you. No worries. /
All right.
mod
Oh my god, he's actually.
at the dashing.
I mean, I'm out for half the community. If I was gonna do something crazy, I'd probably do it like.
Well, it's not that I don't
Wonderful.
trust you. It's just that I think you should come in here and relax. You don't have to be actually doing work. Is the idea?
We're a
mentioned-
slave.
You mentioned earlier that just because these setups aren't overpowered, it doesn't necessarily mean there isn't a balance issue. I would just like you to illustrate to me where the balance issue actually is. Like you said, it limits your options, but that's exactly what everything in a game does. And what
You
setups
directing
do.
this at me, Enda, or Hobo?
That's towards
Hobo.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned Hobo at the start.
The issue is that, while having an additionally narrow set of choices to play against isn't a bad thing, it's that you can, given the nature of the game and how you can put multiple things into a build, you can cover the other options that would potentially be the only other options against whatever the problematic thing is. Whether that's the tracking on thrusting weapons, like you have ways to compensate. Like you could have, halberd offstock with storm stomp is such a powerful setup because everything involved is set to cover the weaknesses of how good the thrusting attacks are, and it gives you so few options that the only real way to deal with it outside of like getting a real fucking lucky trade on some shit.
It will be to be clear. I don't think it's game breaking. It's not game breaking. However, not learning the counterplay I find to be very, very important.
Yeah,
and if there is no direct counterplay, sorry, Dashing, carry on.
I'd like
No,
a
we've
wider
already
array.
we've already sent in some reports to From about what you're getting at here, Hobo. But it's honestly up to From at the end of the day. Like we have sent them literally everything that could be problematic. We've sent over 118 different emails about different tickets to them.
And I mean, it's the fruits of that labor are starting to show. But like what was mentioned earlier with the patches, it's such a slow process that we're not going to be really see the results until maybe a year later.
I mean, I kind of spoke to Fel the other day. You guys will probably see the podcast in like a week and a half. But Fel and I are under not exactly like insider information. In fact, I can't even claim it is because otherwise That's going to cause a lot of issues with our one contact. November, we should be hearing about a DLC, which, if successful, will be one of 3.
Oh yeah, I know the Dream World DLC with Miko.
No.
They're not doing that one.
We don't know what it's supposed to be. All we know is that Foglands.
Oh yeah. Oh no, yeah, that is the one. That actually, yeah, no, there is actually like information on that already out there. The Foglands is the dream world that is referenced in several pieces of cut content, in-game code. Yeah, no, that's 100%.
Yeah, we should be like carrying in November for like a December release. And as you guys know, they're gonna do like one big patch before expansion, whatever it ends up being.
Just like they did with the first DLC in Dark Souls 3.
I mean, hopefully that's going to be where the major... Well, it's going to be good. I just hope that the game is in a more stable state by then. I really hope we have one more patch at least before that point.
Going back to what you were saying, Bobo, when you mentioned that, you know, Howard Offstock, you could cover the bases of other weapons and stuff like that. I know I keep coming back to this, but it's just because I don't think it's ever been settled completely in my mind, at least. You're essentially saying that this type of behavior with the tracking could potentially lead to a future where all the bases and all the counterplay is covered up. You're just saying there's a problematic future that could possibly happen. Is that essentially your point? Am I getting that correct?
I feel like we're already fairly close to that line. And of course, as the game goes on, new things are going to be added. Who knows to what extent those interactions are going to become problematic. And I feel like being able to curb some of that, or like, because it's very obvious, like, hey, quick AoE hyper armor pairs very well with quick thrusting weapons that have good tracking and good forward momentum. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out.
I mean, I agree with you, but at the end of the day, like, if we're going back again, I know there are other setups, but Halberd iStock, you can always just
but yeah.
Yeah. You can always just outspace that setup. You don't necessarily at a close range. Of course, there are options. You have the poise break of the halberd, you have the DPS of the S-stock, and then you have the storm stomp that you mentioned to poise break if they continue to aggress you after the fact. But at the end of the day, there are still recoveries on all of those weapons, and you can always outspace each one of those and correctly do it. I don't think tracking, again, this all started with me mentioning core issues. I don't think tracking is a core issue because there are always options to counteract.
There's some other things that like do cut down on how useful tracking is. So for instance, like in Dark Souls 3, what I would be looking to do is constantly dead angle my R1s so that I get like a more advantageous frame advantage out of it, or the same with the curve sword or any of these things, or I'd be able to use the spacing. That's not quite as useful in this game, considering that how the hitboxes function. So I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's very, very different, and micro spacing in this game, especially when locking off and doing stuff like that, isn't quite as appealing to me as. Ouch. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, I'm
No, that's good. You're focused on the match there.
Yeah.
But, like, you mentioned, like, oh, you could just space it out and then punish. Like, the set, like, it just, I guess using just this as an example, the space, the window to actually space, like, first of all, the distance on halberds makes spacing them kind of reliant on your opponent messing up, because the range and the forward momentum are just quite excessive. And then you also have a relatively short punish window that can be early canceled with Storm Stomp. So even if you outspace them and punish, you could just walk right into a Storm Stomp trade. And
that wouldn't have to mean that you're 10 frames late on your punish on top of that. And also, you mentioned the forward momentum of a halberd attack. And of course, if you're spacing close to a halberd, then it's going to be able to cover that distance, right? That's why each different weapon has its own spacing range, and I think that's really what makes this game really great, is the fact that because you can mix and match so many setups so well and so many different ranges of spacing, the spacing game is really dynamic. And whereas in Dark Souls 3 we see a very, very close spacing game, in this game it varies constantly. You're going back and forth between ranges with your opponent and making sure that you're always going to be in the most advantageous but also safe position. And I think for halberds that's a little bit more farther back, and with halberd S stock, it's going to be very, very far back, and you're only going to be playing for those punishes against those
But
running
do you
R1s
understand
or those S stock quotes.
how that kind of, to a certain degree, obviously, like, it's going to be different, but one of the reasons why I really like Dark Souls 3 for its spacing game is because it was so close. Because the skill ceiling of how good you could make that was insanely high. Like, to be able to, like, manipulate your character's hitbox to miss attacks, either sometimes even on reaction. Like, yeah, that's what I really like, where the micro spacing, those little runouts, to make it as small as possible so you're always in a position to punish afterwards. That I really like, which I feel is very lacking in this game.
I would agree with you on that point.
I feel like spacing and rolling are the biggest fundamental for me. It's really like this. Like, of course, maybe you can say that aggression and stuff like that is also like fundamental or something. But in the end, like, it comes down to, like, if you can punish, like how many mistakes can you punish from your opponents? Like, that's the end of the day, you know. And of course, the rolling aspect comes as well, because, like, if you roll, you get destroyed. But, like, spacing is maybe, like, I don't know, 50% of, like, what's gonna make you good or not in the game. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Enda, translate.
From what I was able to hear, like, the spacing and making that like, spacing was one of the core fundamentals that existed within Dark Souls 3, and it was basically like 50% of what determined how good you were at it. Is that correct, Kheim?
Yeah, like, basically, like, in DS3, what makes you win is how many mistakes can you punish from your opponents.
Yeah.
Like, that.
Exactly.
That's literally it. Like home, like, when I, like, even myself or anyone, like, we still make a ton of mistakes, you know, like, for example, I don't know where to slow on the punish or stuff like that. Like, all those stuff comes with spacing. Like, how good can you position it yourself, like, to be ready to punish something. Like, it's, in my opinion, it's like what is the biggest thing. I don't know how to say it. Like, it's what's gonna make you win the most. Like, it's what you need to focus on.
Yep.
I would agree with that, right? That's like totally true. I just want to respond to him and in his points, since they both made points that I agreed with. I agree that, okay, DS3 was much closer about spacing, and, you know, it's different definitely from Elden Ring. But again, we're at the beginning of this game's life cycle, and we don't necessarily know what the skill cap is for far spacing as well. I don't think it's necessarily different from DS3 in the fact that 50% of what goes into this game is your spacing, right? Spacing is definitely the most important thing in this game, and I think at the top levels, especially, this game is even more passive than than DS3 possibly could be, just because of how far the spacing is and how often you have to change ranges. You never know if you're safe or not if you're playing aggressive. And that can lead to a lot of early and quick deaths because of how high the damage is. I think that's really what the issue is you can punish a lot of mistakes, but then your opponent can immediately make a comeback by playing aggressive sometimes if you make one mistake. You can punish 3, but they can come back after you only make 1, which I think that's what lowers the skill cap, and not necessarily the difference in the spacing difference between the two games.
I feel like you're partly correct in that assessment, but it works against your overall point here, because the importance of spacing in dealing with certain setups is, I would say there's not even that much of a difference between Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. You bring up how it's just different, but that difference comes from the variety of tools that you have at your disposal. And while that variety is certainly a good thing, weapons and tools should be balanced not in a vacuum, but in how they interact with other tools in the game. Like, this might be a hot fucking take. I don't think thrusting weapons should have access to Storm Stomp.
Can can I cut you short very quickly because we have had a wonderful raid by people who are posting incredible emotes. Stilovsky, my friend, thank you very much for the raid and for having me in those videos recently. I really, really appreciate it. Welcome in all of your beautiful people. So anyway, back to what we were saying. That Steel guy's a proper shitter, isn't he? I really dislike him. Yeah, absolutely appalling. Misrepresented me repeatedly. Oh man, what a weaselly little liar. But yes, thank you very much, Steel, for the raid. Welcome in all raiders. I am joined with the Dashing Saint. How you dashing?
Hi, Steel. Hello, you cuties.
I am joined by Hi Hello Good Day.
Hi, hello, good day.
The Hobo Sorcerer.
Kill me.
And the scary Frenchman with the PK Kheim.
Yo.
Alright.
You guys are European. I can say cunt, right?
Yeah, you can.
I'm not.
Oh my God.
Neither is Good Day, although they're an honorary member, okay? That's how it
Let's
works. Welcome, Oregon Hyperseek. Thank you. Anyway, sorry to cut you short, Hobo. Please carry on.
No, you're good. What I was getting at is like how thing, and this is kind of what I brought up in DX3, but it's way less relevant in Dark Souls 3 because you have so many less tools you can use at once. Things should be balanced in relation to each other, not on an individual case-by-case basis. Well, on a case-by-case basis in relation to other things. Like how I brought up, like, certain thrusting weapons maybe shouldn't have access to Storm Stomp, because Storm Stomp is such a perfect cover to their, like, few reasonable weaknesses that it kind of makes the only way to deal with them relying on your opponent messing up. And if the only way to deal with the setup is by relying on your opponent's mistakes, then I feel like there's a fundamental balance issue involved in that setup.
Well, yeah, well, then the problem, but then, like, curve swords should be the norm, right? If we're not relying on our opponents making mistakes, you have to make things unreactable with how these games work. So, in other words, you're forced to use either daggers or curve swords, I think.
I think there's a bit more potential, especially in Elden Ring. You have different lingering effects. You have weapon arts that could take up area and deny space. You have a decent amount of mix-up potential, which can make the reactability of some attacks, variable to a degree. I'm not against having like mix-ups or having things necessarily be unreactable. I just want, like certain classes of stuff to have clear strengths and clear weaknesses, and for those weaknesses to not so easily be covered by other tools. It should be a pretty big sacrifice if you're gonna have something cover such a heavy weakness on your setup.
Yeah, especially on a halberd, for instance, because like the halberd tracking, especially on those running R1s, is very backstabbable. But you're not going to be willing to backstab it when it can just spam. It's just like you have so much spam potential out of it, and you're never going to get it, and you're never going to get backstabbed.
That's exactly my point.
I don't think you can really spam the halberd running R1. I think you get
spamming the off-stock or Storm Stomp after running R1 to prevent, like, to discourage. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. I would agree with that. But again, you can. I don't know if you know this, Hobo, but you can very easily get one attack in even with the 10 extra frames of recovery, or the 10 faster frames of recovery on Storm Stomp or other Astral Wars. You can still get an attack in before they're able to get that Ash of War off. And in the form of Storm Stomp, yeah, you can.
No. I'm sorry.
And with Ice Stomp, you can get 2 off and still get the rollout.
Okay. I misunderstood you there. I thought you meant like interrupting the Storm Stomp.
No, what I mean is you can attack before the Storm Stomp comes out and still get away for free. It's not necessarily a thing that covers all bases. It just makes the window smaller. Which again,
there's other things they have that cover the bit. Because if they wanted to, they could just L1 with the S stock instead of Storm Stomping. And that would cover both trying to strafe around, and that would cover you trying to punish the Storm Stomp before it comes out. Because to do that Storm Stomp punish, you have to do it early. You can't, like, on reaction, do that and roll out. unless you're on like a perfect connection or using a very, very narrow set of weapons.
So Josh points out you can interrupt Storm Stomp with status proc.
Yeah, but status procs are a problem in and of themselves.
Not even going to status, but before that, you mentioned how you have to do it early. That's true. You have to do it early, but you don't have to do it in range of the S-Stock. Remember, S-Stocks have a very short range. Most weapons in the game outclass them, and the weapons in the game.
Okay, when I say S-Stock, like Rot Rapier, like okay.
You
like,
can still outrange any. Yeah, let's bring in Rot too. Yeah, you can still outrange Rot. I did it the other day on ladder versus a guy who only used S-Stock with Swarm Stomp and Cold. Because he wanted to show me how the recovery was so short, and all I did was outspace him on short spears, which are some of the shortest weapons in the game. And almost every weapon that doesn't outspace S-Stocks and off-rots and whatnot,
Hey, Amir.
they're going to have the recovery, or not the recovery, they're going to have the ability to outdamage them or have the recovery to get away before the S-Stock actually goes through.
And what just happened?
I have no.
I think someone had a superior gaming chair, IMO. Jesus Christ. Welcome in, Amir. Here, I'll add your name with the end of the occasional end of podcast has begun, apparently.
Oh yeah. But yeah, going back to that previous point, for you to be able to
We are live, by the
be
way,
able
Amir.
to reliably like outspace and punish something like that setup, you can't really react to what they're doing, so you have to predict. But the options by which you have to predict for are they cover each other.
No, here's the thing. That's not true, because if you outspace the S-Stock, you're going to be able to cover all your bases. If by outspacing the S-Stock and attacking after the recovery of a running R1, so we're talking about the recovery of a running R1 on a halberd, so you're in that recovery frames, the opponent is, you're going to be able to punish them if you outspace the S-Stock, no matter what, because if they Storm Stomp, it'll be too late, you'll be able to roll away. If they use the S-Stock, you're out of range, you're not going to get hit. And if
They don't have the same
halberd,
timings.
if they try to halberd R1, again, you're going to be able to roll away.
You're ignoring the differences in timings and the lingering hitboxes involved. If you try to catch someone out, and outspace their, off stock, and you try to do that, but you fucking guess wrong because you can't react to it, then you're gonna eat the Storm Stomp. If you try to do it early at the Storm Stomp and roll out, then you're gonna eat.
If you preemptively space the S-Stock, you're not wasting any time.
I tell you what, we
space the S-Stock, and you're already in position to counter.
Guys, Endo wants to say something.
What we can do here, gentlemen, is we can take it off the list, okay? We can take it off the list for now, and we can argue about this again, because the entire conversation is being dominated by this and the tracking of certain weapons. I think it's an overall systematic problem, but we'll definitely have another conversation about it again. But
that's fine.
Is there any other dashing, though? I am curious as to what the rest of your... You said you had 7 core issues that you wanted to address.
He said 27.
Well, 27.
How long do you want to go on for?
Well, as long as you need, until we find something we can argue about. Which, we have Hobo in here, so it shouldn't take too long.
I already got one. So everyone knows poise is
2 minute
a problem in some fashion.
Yeah, well, obviously. Well, we never finished. I asked dashing. Literally a who asked, Hobo.
I hear my name and I'm like, I must.
No, go on anyway, dashing.
Okay, let's go.
The 7.
27.
The 27 fixes that you would want.
27 steps to enlighten.
What?
I don't think he was actually intending to give a reply. I think that was kind of joking. But
I wasn't joking.
He's writing the list
right now.
Oh my god!
I'm fucking fighting Endo right now.
Shit! I didn't even notice.
No conditioning for you, Mr. Dashing. GG's though.
Ow.
Your GG's.
But yeah, there's 27 huge issues that need to be addressed with the ER, most of which aren't even common knowledge. For example, Now people know about the FP regen glitch, but not the one that's that can be done without having to have your stats at 99. That one's a big one.
You're talking about the one with the helmet? The FP region with helmet? Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, there's an FP regen glitch that's not common knowledge. We're gonna keep it that way until
Yeah.
and I'm sending all the information over to Amir so he can see what the fuck happened with it. But
Is it's still in the
because
game, I assume?
it is, and now people found another way on how to do it with hat fapping, because there is integer overflow happening when you've got 99 and a stat. So right now people figured out that if you've got like 99 vigor, 99 mind, and 99 strength, you can do the FP regen glitch. So that means past level 350, there's a lot of people that are going to be abusing that shit. You guys might be thinking, oh, 350, that's not really touchable. But anybody over the level of 310 gets into that bracket for there to max level. So that's going to become a norm.
Fires.
There actually
yeah.
is something to mention in regards to that, kind of tertiary to that point. Issues that affect higher soul level stuff is things that we tend to think aren't really, a big deal. People don't realize this. A majority of the people who play Elden Ring are above 150.
I mean, yeah, I would agree. I guess I'm just not. I'm ignorant to the issues of people above that because I don't think that's very enjoyable. So I don't
Meta
play that.
doesn't exist to these people. To them,
Yeah.
the highest level they can get is them beating the game.
Oh, yeah, I introduced my partner to Elden Ring. It's their
Oh
first
god,
Souls game.
and why? Sorry, Hobo, why?
What? Oh,
What
yeah,
did
I
they
know. I know, but they actually really enjoy it. But they're like level 260 or 270 right now because they just kept going.
Interesting.
Into new
And
game.
that seems to be an awful lot of people. No, you're okay, Harry. I'll politely decline on our rematch, my friend. You were too much of a gamer. I think that just far too much.
Want to bite that ass?
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Want to bite that ass?
Ow. Poise break though.
Saint, if you actually made a video, it's like the 27 problems with Elden Ring. I would definitely watch.
Oh,
that
fuck
video.
you.
I think our
Fuck
stock is
you, I
fine,
got a
Emma.
bite out of your ass, and come on.
We do a little bit of spamming L1. It's okay.
Nothing wrong here.
We do a little gaming.
A moderate amount of gaming.
Huge problems with VR, and there's no good way on how to like just send an email over to customer support and be like, hey, we want this fixed. Nope.
You gotta make a website for it.
It's one way to
Amir,
do it.
Amir's
Although
already
that
cut
really
that
just
shit.
proves like all the doomers wrong. Like we can actually make a fucking difference if we try. and
Well,
give
the
it-
problem is we don't necessarily know where they're getting all of their information is the problem.
You
Are
can
they...
personally thank the Western community head. She's the reason why the PvP community is even being acknowledged right now. You can
Yeah.
thank the people like Enda here and people like Amir because it's their footage that I've been sending in, and she's like really interested in what's going on with like Western PvP audiences. So she's been like taking a look at the website. She's been taking a look at the tournament footage I've been sending her, and she's like trying to make do with what she can, and then just talking to the actual like FromSoft Japan to figure out what the fuck to do.
And that's not even considering the potential for people to within the company be doing that
Oh, speak of the
of
devil,
their
hey there.
own volition.
I can barely.
I
hear
can...
you.
Can't quite make you out.
Happens.
Oh, my mic was backwards.
This is our savior.
The man, the myth,
Okay,
the
but
legend.
Dashing, who are you sending the stuff to?
Keep pronouncing her name. Her name's like Ismar or something.
Ismar. They
Ismar,
use
that's it.
many pronouns.
That's it.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, she's been the one who's been getting a lot of like the tournament footage, and she took a look at the website.
yeah, a lot of people sent it their way, including Gabby.
And
Yes, dear.
why didn't I get hit there?
I have no idea.
Go on, Amir.
But yeah, that's really good that you've been also like spending things. I'm guessing with like explanations and stuff as well. What is it? The website actually needs some updating now since we like a lot of the stuff we said got integrated or integrated in a different way that was better or sufficient. I'd say. So it's probably best to get that there. But I've been working on a patch 1.6 video. Already got 10 minutes of the audio recorded, and I'm not even done the script on it. But once that's done, maybe I'll, what is it? We have some other people that can, what is it?
Just update
work
the
the
page.
website or just update the page.
It's
Okay,
good.
now Amir, I got a big favor to ask you, bud.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about extended invasion ranges, how much do I have to pay you? Instead of saying Wex Dust, you say crack.
He's really trying to market.
He's trying to outsource it here, and I have to say I'm very impressed with the attempts, honestly. So
Wait,
far.
crack?
I didn't even try this hard to market.
I
the
will be
term
back in a
chain
second.
casting.
Diana's asking after you, Kheim, before I disappear.
Wait, I cannot watch right now. Like I'm
I'm
playing
here
my
for-
reboot game.
No worries. I'm here for
Fucking
Kheim.
Diana.
I'm
I'll
grinding.
chat you in just a moment.
Hi, Diana.
No
You
slurs
guys
while
want
I'm
to go
away.
back to the? You guys
What-
want to go
what-
back to the
What
Halberd
was-
argument?
What was
Save
with the
this
Wex
emote
Dust thing?
for you
Why did you
guys.
want it?
What?
Why did
Sorry.
you want it to be called crack? Or is that
Well,
not the word you said?
Yeah, I said crack.
Okay.
Dumb Demon Souls lore. That
scared me.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
there you don't have to worry about it. But on a slightly more serious note, there is something I wanted to ask. Two things. The first thing is, did you find anything interesting in regards to looking through the 1.06 changes that weren't explicitly mentioned in the notes? And secondly, please, for the love of God, tell them to supplement the spells that got fucked over by the lack of chain casting. Briars of Sin is unusable! I'm dying out here! Okay, go.
Well, yeah, that video won't be specifically on suggested changes. There will be like a lot of notes that will be like, oh, but this thing still needs further adjustment, right? But like most of it is just explaining what's actually going on because there is a complete lack of explanation on how a lot of these features exactly change and like what that
Those two
actually means.
questions were separate questions, by the way. The one about Briars was kind of not really serious. I'm more interested in, like, what things did you find in the patch notes that weren't explicitly listed in the patch notes?
Well, like the recovery for well, there was a speed increase to the Knight's Greatsword moveset that wasn't stated. They didn't say they increased the motion speed, quote unquote, or the attack speed greatswords, but that was increased. They said they increased sped up the time it takes to dodge, or I don't know the exact term they used, but it was something about rolling, right? But they actually also increased not only the roll cancel speed of all these great weapon classes and their attacks, but they did it for various other windows, right? Like attacks, subsequent attack speed, block cancels, move cancels.
Lowering the
crouching.
window by which you can cancel the end lag of one animation into another. Okay.
Yeah, like end lag is another term you could use, but it's not one we utilize too much in the Souls community, unfortunately. But yeah, like all those cancels are a lot better, especially on the attacks that really needed it. And all the great weapon classes are a lot, more consistent on how quickly you can dodge stuff, and therefore, you can use them a lot more safer, and they feel a lot more solid, and you can do subsequent hits faster. It's just overall
I'm glad for
far
them,
better.
Rich.
And
Be
they
fair.
didn't say like most of what they did. Like they didn't mention that at all. They only said dodging.
Okay, that's actually really good to know. So you can better you could with like an ultra great weapon of some kind. You could Dark Souls 3 brain. You could still you can R1 and then your opponent is just asked to guess am I going to try to roll catch them panic rolling out of their missed R1, or are they going to cancel it into another attack trying to catch me, punish them. And I feel like that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Like subsequent attack speed, for the most part, hasn't been sped up much, except for like some cases. But nothing of it seems absurd. They were really sort of smart on it and did it for the attacks that needed the most. And in terms of what is it? What was I gonna say? Yeah, the heavy attack also got some huge changes. basically every single heavy attack on a great weapon now got its startup sped up from like 7 to freaking like 12 frames or whatever. So this was like around a third of a second at least increase. But that puts them all around the same sort of range of total time to hit with a fully charged attack of like 1 1/3 second. They made that like all the same, and pretty consistently. They also severely reduced the recovery. So on every single like first heavy attack release, it's basically gonna be better post attack recovery, or what most people would probably call regular recovery in other games. Is actually better than the neutral R1, right? So that actually incentivizes heavy attacks a lot more. I think those heavy attacks still definitely should use some improvements, because like I think jump attacks are just overall better on most except for some like specific cases such as the claymore attack or maybe these other ones, but
Halberd.
not really halberd that much. Oh, and especially not the vertical moveset. Oh, that's dog shit. And
Oh
they didn't
yeah,
fix it
that
at all.
went to shit.
Rest in peace.
Um,
There is something that I think that can kind of help heavy attacks. I don't expect them to do this, mind you, because it's too much work. But the way you can cancel heavy attacks into shorter, faster attacks with the thrusting sword and curved sword should
the
be
kick.
expanded upon for larger weapons.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting, but I think it's unlikely to be done. How far it is in the game. One
Right.
thing, I've debated with Gabri a bit is, and I think this also might be equally as likely, but specifically for two-handed movesets, to grant the ability to block cancel during the charge window, which still I'm uncertain about. But seeing as how jumping attacks work, right, with like say the heavy thrusting sword, it basically gives you like a dagger speed thrust that's far longer, and you can do it at any point of the jump. And the jump like startup before you can even start an attack is only 6 frames compared to most charge attacks, which is at least like 10 to 15 frames. Like, it's not even absurd, and you can move during jump attacks and have all this control. So just adding that, so you can cancel at least while two-handing, it would give an extra perk to two-handing and make the mix-up potential with like heavy attacks far better. And it's like I don't think it'd actually be too broken at all. I mean,
I'm not against the idea at all, and assuming they nerf the effectiveness of shields, I also wouldn't mind that being possible with one-handing, assuming you could block with whatever's in your offhand. Maybe not offhand weapons, because...
well, yeah, you already.
I could see that being a problem, but yeah, no, like I like that idea actually. That's a good compromise, and I think it won't take. I don't think it's as unlikely, because what I suggested would require new animations for each R2 cancel, whereas all you would require is just a transition from the animation state of a charged R2 directly into the animation state for a block.
Yeah,
Who did I
they
just
literally
fight?
can add like a window or two.
Yeah.
Sorry, whoever I just fight, like our net is so perfect. Like,
I thought you were gonna say the complete opposite.
It is the Souls community. It
Are
is
you
the
in my
Souls community.
backyard? Do you want to come in for a cup of coffee?
Oh my god.
Who were you fighting?
were
What was
you?
the name?
Well played.
I'm not sure who that is. Which of you feckers is it?
Are you guys doing password duels?
No, we have no
Yeah,
password
Lion.
on at
Wait, nope,
Tourney
that's
Spot.
no.
Oh no, I
We
did
have
put
Lion.
my password
You
is
lied.
Lion.
You're
Yeah,
a liar.
Mr. Mater,
Always
Mr.
I hit
Batzer,
from
like your connection is just sublime. I love you. Thank you. I wish
Into the
everybody
lion.
was like
Into
you.
the lion. What
Wow.
is going on? What is going on?
I'm gonna get in on
Name
this
on
shit.
this game.
Let me get it. Let me get in here.
Yeah, throw down a password.
Bully.
Like if you ever want to go out for coffee, like Mr. Mattis, I will gladly like buy you a cuppa. If you want to spend a night, you can. just with a connection that sweet, you just snuck your waist right into my heart.
Is there romance blossoming? Is that what's happening here?
There might be, yeah.
What last does? Oh,
Definitely
no.
doing more erotic ASMR.
Okay, now hear me out. I take connections very seriously. When I say I've got a good connection with Peachy Boy, I mean I have a good connection with Peachy Boy. Like,
What the
I can
fuck?
reliably hit that guy with a soldering iron.
I
Hang
mean,
on a second, I forgot my tea. Give me a moment.
wait, like
I
actually hit
refuse
or
to
trying to
believe
hit?
that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So when somebody's like in my backyard, like I
You're gonna
can
have to
just
fact
walk
check that.
around and give him a backstab, and like, there's no latency ever.
Your
It's
backyard is
beautiful.
Australia?
Apparently so. Like Peachy and I have a good connection, but like this connection was just perfect.
If I may
Where-
ask, where the hell
do you have like?
Boonies in Canada.
Oh, you poor thing.
Out in the shticks altogether.
Hey, I've got better than most of like Middle America because they got Comcast.
Yeah,
You got Starlink? What do you have?
Starlink is very hit or miss.
You know, I bet like the only way I think that is even possible, remotely possible, dashing, is if you have frickin' cable straight through the frickin' Earth's crust or core, and you're straight to him. Like literally, the speed of light would limit your connection, so you could not have that.
Well, now that you mention it, Amir, I haven't been getting a lot of sleep. You see, I've been digging this pipe.
It's going across the Atlantic, okay?
The
Yeah.
password is, of course, line anyone else who wants to get in. I did a boo-boo, so...
I always forget what the tournament spot actually is. What is it, Limgrave or Shaded
It's
Castle?
Rampart Tower. Jump onto that. You'll know the room as soon as you see it. If you're watching my stream.
Yeah, I saw you do a jump. I put on chat only just so like I don't eat bandwidth. But
Yeah, no worries. If you'll just look at this room here, I can even just stream it onto Discord real quick. for you.
I'll just go on the stream real quick because I'm not dueling right now.
There
In
we
the
go.
creepy
And
crawler.
like, I remember when I was asking you to find like a tournament spot. Is this your tournament spot or is this somebody else's?
So
You
the
have
whole
voice chat.
the whole meme is I found it while we were looking for a new area because I was trying to find that spot you'd pointed out in Stormvale.
Yeah.
And the meme, I'm not sure how much of it is a meme. I don't know if we found it together or he claimed credit, but we call it the Value Arena because Value is convinced everyone that he found it. The fucker. So it was either myself or Value who found it first, but I think it was on stream I found it, so I'll take full credit, okay? That's how it works. So yeah, password line, put down your signs, ladies and gentlemen, I'll fight whoever. You can fight amongst yourselves. Yeah. So it's just over these sandbags. There's Rampart Tower, jump onto the arena, jump down. Here, I can even just go do a little jig here for you. It's probably it's the only good tournament spot without using Seamless or Cheat Engine that we've found so far. You
What's
can
the best journey spot with Seamless?
Oh, I think we found one. Lasker, if you could turn off your hitbox and couldn't be locked onto, it would be pretty okay. And you could turn off the water debuff. But there's even water in this arena, so it's like,
Why not just put up walls in the what's it called?
Oh my
Round
god, you're
table.
beautiful. You're beautiful. That connection is just peanut butter. Oh my goodness.
be nice. It'd be nice to get DLC with these arenas open. It'd be good battle spots. The arenas. Okay, here's my hot take, and I'm gonna be bitterly. I'm gonna be bitter. Okay. The arenas for Dark Souls 3 were dog shit. Absolutely a dog shit. Actually,
there was
vile.
one good arena. There was one good arena. in
Which
all of them.
was?
No, it was
Yeah,
Circle.
Gale's Boss
It was
Arena,
Circle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Circle gated.
The circles are just awful. The circles are absolutely vile. You can run away forever. There's no corner pressure.
I think corner pressure is it exists. I think it's kind of a silly thing to have to rely on. Like if you have to corner your opponent to pressure them, it's kind of indicative of the game being imbalanced.
Well, no, it just means you can
Not
pick
necessarily.
No, you can pick an arena that basically accentuates the issue. It forces passivity. It forces the people to be active to try and get counter pressure. They can't just run away forever. Although as a filthy mage, of course you'd say that, darling.
I mean,
Goddamn.
PvP can still be fun, obviously out in the open, but I think when things get a bit more, especially in a 1v1, like a proper 1v1, like that corner pressure makes all the difference for a lot of things and makes it a lot easier, for things like light roll, like that.
Don't walk into that hobo.
I will do no such thing.
Good.
Oh, you lived by one. Good job, Amir.
Excuse
I
me.
know.
No, please. Mercy.
Oh,
But yeah, there's like some I don't see them ever making a good arena just because of the fact of like they want to make sure that as many setups are viable and most
Hobo,
of the
your
more,
connection is just immaculate. I'm sorry, Enda, but like you pulled me in here, and all these people have good net. It's just.
welcome. This is why we
Oh.
duel.
I'm glad to hear. Was that you, Saint?
Yes, it was. That's why I said you thought you could get away with that Night Maiden miskill, you cheeky fuck.
Oh, fuck. I almost joined Ultimation's chat because oh my god, I'm using a Switch Pro controller, you guys.
What?
Why?
So
You-
my Xbox
Really?
controller, the right stick stopped pressing down, so I can't lock on with it.
I was wondering why you were buffering your attacks. You didn't have to do that against me. I'm like, huh? What the fuck, Hobo?
You have Dashing excited now. He's gonna be like this all week. If it ain't, and we owe Stinky Ham. It's gonna be interesting to see what they actually do. Yikes! It's not summoning me. Yeah, it's very weird. I might just reset. I'll be able to get one of you guys.
All uses on here, Jesus.
We're 125. I'd much prefer people to be 125, but I'm not gonna lose any sleep.
Oh damn, and here I was bringing my 290.
Ah, god damn it! Anyone want to fight Harry, Kevin? Girl, you're a cheater. You're like actually just cheating, dude. Sorry, I've no interest in fighting you. Like, it's a funny meme. It was funny for like half a second, but
Oh! I didn't expect that! Oh, I'm so happy to see that.
I'm sorry, gamer.
Why
I
did
just
you
don't
walk
know
That's a
in
that.
melee hitbox! That's delightful! I actually had no idea that had a melee hitbox. Oh, piss in my ass.
Sorry, excuse me?
Love
What
that
the
for you.
fuck? Whatever you're
Oh,
into, I guess. God damn.
Oh, sorry. Hobo was just sucking my cock.
God damn.
Cock breath. Sorry.
Why did I try that in melee?
Sorry.
didn't I?
What are we trying in melee? Jesus. But no, I think this. How are we? What's the general vibe about the patch, lads? What's the general? Let's
Fuck,
last
Hobo.
thoughts. Last thoughts, because I have about half an hour.
Almost ubiquitously positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good step in the right direction. Like really good indication that they're putting efforts into the changes instead of just doing band-aid fixes.
Disappointing volume of changes, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Volume.
what I
Fight Harry?
Sure,
I'm
yeah,
hoping
the
they-
volume. Compared
Yep.
to 105, 1.5 though, my name is still worst patch 1.05, isn't it?
Yep.
Of course.
Miyazaki rolls worst patch ever. Asked to leave from Soft HQ.
I feel like
At least it wasn't a
the
Radon buff.
introduction of crack will be enough to hold people over until
Yeah,
the DLC
I agree.
announcement in November. But I know, like, come September, people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, fix the game."
Well, we
Please.
do need it. There's an awful lot more work to be done. The fact that the 2-minute timer is still in there has killed the competitive viability of this video game. It's appalling.
I'm actually not familiar with the 2-minute timer, but I've heard it before.
I think
So-
Amir is here.
Watch
He can
Amir's
basically
video.
describe it a little bit better than the rest of us.
I posted a video. I am no longer legally required to explain it.
God damn it! It's basically there's a problem with EAC communicating with. Is it the Steam servers or is it the
Easy
individual
Anti-Cheat.
players? Yeah, it's easy
Easy
anti-cheat.
anti-cheat server.
The easy anti-cheat server, and as a result, it's kicking people seemingly at random. It's fucking vile, and it's almost killed the competitive scene completely. Like I do what I kind of like will occasionally go into a different Discord server, look up Den, LBU, Enda, and just to see what fucking comes up. And the resounding thing is these tourneys are a joke. That these disconnects are fucking ridiculous. How are they even doing this? I feel so sorry for them. It's like yeah.
That's honestly a valid criticism. Also, I feel bad being in like veterans armor when I'm fighting this dude in like Drake armor.
That's me.
And you're using like the fucking the Drake head gauntlets. I feel so bad.
What's wrong with that, Hobo?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I'm
Yeah,
sweaty.
hobo.
Let me put
Oh,
on
but
some.
you should put your sign down. You should put your sign down.
I have my
would
sign
probably
down.
go.
It's Enda. Never mind. Back to.
Oh, there he is. I see how it is, Hobo.
Just
Goddamn
because I
right.
look like I'm not sweating
Where's
right
my
now, you'd be
fucking?
surprised
It's
how much
not going
damage
off.
Are you a
I was
Terra
pressing that the
Magica?
whole goddamn time.
Are you a Terra Magica carrion slicer user? Hobo, be real with me.
Hey, Enmar.
Oh, I had to be predictive on that one. Ah, you cunt! I didn't mean to lock on. Why am I locked on? Oh, that hit me mid-roll.
Tuggers.
I missed space because I'm bad. Tip.
And flash pressure from half the map away is so
I
satisfying.
can't believe I just stood there eating hits, not doing. I was spamming L2 and I couldn't get Gravitas out.
You
GG,
poor
Enmar.
feller.
I'm gonna blame that on inputs, not being.
I think you have to
Enmar slightly
Yeah?
turned his back away from me the moment I went for his backstab, and I got stuck in the backstab animation. Otherwise, it was gonna be like a one-shot. And
Oh,
he was
that's
just, oh, good connections. Why can't they always be like this?
The best
Well,
connection I've had was fighting my brother in the next room over, and I think we had 5 ping.
That's
was
divine.
amazing. It was
I
immaculate.
think I get like 15
gonna
ping
lie.
with you, Enda.
Your relation to connection is kind of erotic.
Let's try this again.
Sorry?
I was saying, like, his relation to connection is kind of erotic.
Oh my.
Okay, look,
excuse
Kheim,
me.
when you've been in as many like PvP things as I have, the moment you see someone with good net,
I get you.
Like-
I get. I'm not gonna lie. I get you to be like the best I've ever had is like 3 milliseconds with Nash.
We
Like,
free
this
aim
is-
in this house.
Wait,
it's
3 to Nash?
I have 3 milliseconds to Nash. Like,
Wow,
really?
It's,
Oh my
it's
God.
so
Really?
it's so immaculate. Like it's so perfect. Like oh my god, it's
Fucking
yeah,
spear,
it's so
man.
dope. Like the spacing game when I play Nash is like it's gorgeous.
Oh, there,
Alright.
yeah, there it is. Yeah, mm-hmm.
That happens. I'm sorry.
How the fuck did you have time to L1, roll through Phalanx, L1 again, roll through Gravitas, and then L1 again?
Because you're both Cali laggards. That's how it works. You're lagging even
No.
to each other.
No, it's because it's called timing my hits so that my recovery is
Okay.
right before your attack comes out. It's crazy. You should try it. Innovative.
You didn't even hit by the first hitbox of Gravitas, you goon.
I did get hit by it.
You didn't on my screen. Like, at
I
all.
did.
Didn't even take the damage, there's no delay.
Bro.
I did.
Who's
I'll flip
this?
it.
The fuck? Ooh, we got a random challenger.
I might have gotten an IPE though, because I'm pretty sure the first one. Amir, do you know off the top of your head how much poison damage the first hit of Gravitas does?
It does like pretty sure just the base value of your weapon poise damage token. That can do like 60, 70, 50.
Oh wait, he was using the S stock, so
Yeah.
Enmar, that was
one-handed too, so 30, and I have 49.
My issue
Okay.
wasn't like with the stagger, it literally didn't even hit. That's what was.
No, it hit. It hit me.
You never lost health. From that.
I will show you. I clipped it. I watched it over too.
Then let me see, because I've had instances like this of like weird desync values just not showing up despite there being like this.
There
will
are
happen-
some issues with desynced animations and stuff like that. I've no idea what the actual cause is. It's wild, but I think there was a tournament where like everyone was using a bunch of desynced animations and like it was
Oh,
there
yeah,
for
that-
everyone to see.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kheim,
That's
while
funny.
you're still here, talking about how
Oh, I have
tryhard
crabs.
I am.
God, that's probably
So I was invading the private servers the other day,
You poor bastard.
and what happened was somebody thought I was cheating
Oh, space. Couldn't roll.
when their
Oh.
RKSS and their
Oh,
Corking
I-
Great Knife was not getting any chip
Kheim,
through my Great
you
Shield.
watching?
So they decided to pull Death Script on me.
Time. You watching? Or not time,
Despite the
sorry.
fact I was using
Hobo,
like,
you watching?
Sorry, I'm in a match with Enda.
despite the fact I was using like the most gentlest tech.
Wait.
They decided to just fucking say, oh, you know, he must be cheating.
What is it? Wait, you didn't take like the match from the
Yeah, they
I
were using
bungled that early on.
They were using Corvian Great Knife, Ash of War.
Yeah, let me
and,
see this
sorry,
clip.
One
though, because
second,
I-
lads. Let Dash go on one at a time. One at
Oh,
a time.
sorry,
Come on, come on,
They were
come on.
using Corvian Great Knife weapon art, and they were unable to get any chip on me, so they thought I was cheating.
Oh.
Because I was using Great Magic Shield.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
So you
Yeah, what
hit
the
right
fuck?
here. You hit.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and that's blowing my mind because I've heard of this. People will say that I will, I'll take damage, and they'll be like, "Oh, you didn't take damage from that." I'm like, "Yeah, I did," but I've never been on the receiving end of that before. This is like fucking insane. I had no idea this is actually a thing. I thought it was
it's
just a
probably
thing that I've heard
placebo, to be
referenced.
fair.
I know
Probably
it
safe.
happens sometime with grab attempts, like on certain abilities with weird grab functions, where like the damage will be represented on one screen but not the other. I've never seen that happen with just a normal attack though.
I'm pretty sure that's just the Crimson Bubble tier activating. I'm 90% sure that that's just placebo, honestly.
Maybe in some instances it could be, but I actually don't often bubble up.
I thought I'd roll that. Rip.
It happens.
I need to use Slicer and Piercer more, but I have a conscience, so.
Slicer, so Piercer is dog shit, but Slicer is broken. just so
Excuse
know.
you?
Slicer is dog, or Piercer is dog shit.
I mean, how many times do you want to be wrong today? It's okay.
No, he's not wrong. It's a knowledge check, and once you have the knowledge check, it's all ogre. I'm afraid.
Sure,
I'm
it's
sorry.
a knowledge check, but it's also a mix-up, and B, it lingers for 3
Hobo,
trillion years.
you're at like 39 insight. I'm fairly certain like Gooday's at 40.
This motherfucker.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean
I
it's
like
a
the-
useful
oh,
it's a useful
not
tool
good.
as like a roll catch mix up, and you can hold
like
on to
Kheim.
it. But again,
Oh,
once
is that
someone
also
sees it
Kheim?
once, it's
Yeah,
like it's
because I free gamed
GG's.
it.
I'll take that. Nice.
Again, we're
No,
talking
no,
about it
no, no,
with
no,
players
no,
who are good.
No,
so-
Alright.
no.
Can I cast my spell, please?
I don't know. Let's roll for initiative.
I'm doing a Pathfinder campaign with Sam, so I'm offended.
I have
Bad
a
idea.
Pathfinder rulebook behind me, and I've never actually done a campaign of it. Is it any good?
Isn't it just
nice
like
try.
what or more lax D&D basically?
I think
Why am
so.
I free aiming that like
I mean,
Why
most
would
of
I
the
roll into that?
most of the RPGs that I've played have been like the White Wolf one. The what is it? New World
Turn
of
on the
Darkness.
fan.
Ooh, that was a good free.
That's a good one.
Ah! Oh, Spectral!
I think
oh,
I've
shit.
only ever played D&D in Call of Cthulhu.
Wait, did
Oh,
that
right.
did that do damage to me? Because that didn't hit me on my screen, but like the spear is in my body.
Oh my god, it
Did
is.
did that do damage?
No, it didn't do damage.
Okay, just making sure
What
it
did
wasn't
you
one of those.
eat? You ate my spear, and you just like, is that some sort of meat that I don't know about? You know what? I'm gonna go just. I see that Night Maiden's Mist, and it looks pretty.
Ah, that works. It is quite pretty. Oh jeez.
How did you eat my entire pipe
So-
to your head?
I'm gonna mute for a
And
second.
yeah, I
with
didn't
BRB.
take damage. This
Like-
Marissa, one of the things that I would suggest to you, if you want, is not a good build. It's not the build that's at fault. What I would recommend doing is once you get the status proc, staying in close to me to try and like, because I do not want to keep that frost build up. I want to get rid of it because it's like tanks my damage. So what you want to do is you want to stay closer to me and try to punish whenever I try to bolus, or prevent me from bolusing. And while I counter aggress to try and make that space, stay in and be able to do that damage. Is deadly or close? Well, you need the opportunity to get in close, otherwise I'm going to poise break you, especially when I switch. But anyway, I digress. GG's, Marissa. GG's, good shit.
that I should probably use when fighting Enda, because like fighting
Just use
anyone with a
Slicer.
moderate amount of poise on my build requires me to be really passive, and I am impatient.
Well, I can go to like 99 if I really want to. He knows he can bully. Alright.
I might give that a shot, actually. Let's see what I can manage. Also, I hate that you can't use spells while jumping with Raptor of the Mists. That just feels like they forgot.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb. I would agree there. I started playing a bestial sling one-handed straight sword build, and
boy.
I had Raptor on my straight sword.
Back to
and it
another
annoyed the
bad
fuck out of
person
me.
with bad internet. Why? Where are you from? Oh, that one part of the world that I can't actually connect well with.
I am a Cali boy. Oh,
Yes, I've got a good connection with California. In fact, like Grim and I have very good net. I do not know like what it is with where we are that I've got good connection with PG Boy and Grim. You're not allowed to have
Impossible.
both.
Impossible. How does anyone have a good connection to Grim? Flippy Gold. Goodbye, Flippy Gold. It's been
Oh,
nice
what the
knowing
fuck? I'm getting hit in
Upwards
midair.
tracking. Yeah, it's upwards tracking.
That's garbage.
I was actually surprised about how good the connection, how good Green connection was with some
10, 12,
Asian
13,
players.
14,
Really?
15, 16,
Yeah, he actually has it
17,
pretty
18,
decent.
20,
Like I saw him like play against
21,
Aaron, I believe,
Please don't let me lose.
24.
Taiwanese player. I think.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Like yeah, he had a pretty good net with him. Like I'd
Oh
say
my God.
about 150, which is like really decent to me.
It's decent for that side of the world for sure.
Yeah.
Would you do me a favor and send me, if you're recording, a clip of that match? I'm trying to compile clips of Night Maiden's Mist for Krite.
It wasn't that killed me. It was your frostbot. I just didn't see your frostbot because I'm blind in one eye.
No, yeah, the area denial from the mist is
He's blind in one eye. His dog died. He's having a bad day. He didn't sleep last night. And he sucks at the video games. So you know what? We have the whole. I'm
Those
sorry.
are
I love
mine.
you. Good day. I'm so sorry. I love you. Good day. Please.
All right, into best of 5 right now.
Oh, look at the time. I actually have to go after this. So.
Unlucky.
We're
Oh,
gonna do
man.
another best of 99.
Oh God. I think I'll do one of those a month and then.
Oh,
stop
by
playing
the
others.
way, by the way, we have a bill 99 to do.
Oh yes, we do. What are the rules, Mr. Kheim? You set the engagement. I'll play you in any way.
I don't care. I don't care to be honest.
Old ladder rules. Callback. Ouch.
Or whatever, if you want.
Nah, we can do it. I'd like to fight your PK for 12 hours. That sounds very entertaining.
engaging.
It actually is playing curve sword.
I'll give you like a best of 9. Loser buys coffee.
I was out of stamina. You would have actually parried me.
I can't believe I landed that running R2.
All right, Hobo, let's see what you got. I brought out the old meta setup.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. However, I am going to have to leave now because I do need to eat and get ready for work. Thank you to all my wonderful guests. So, the Dashing Saint. First, how can people find you?
This do be a podcast, right?
It's going to be now. It's going on YouTube, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. Dashing Saint. Where can people find you?
Okay.
But did he leave?
Yeah.
No, he's still here. How can people find you, Dash?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find... No, Hobo. No. Not bad, Hobo. Oh, we want to play this game, eh? You piece of shite. I pull out Rivers of Blood, and you think you can do
How'd
that
that
to me?
not continue? What the
So we'll skip Dashing until he's finished trouncing Hobo. Amir, how can people find you?
The YouTube, just Amir with the period at the end. And just search like Amir, Dark Souls, or Elden Ring. You'll probably find me.
Hi, hello, good day. How can people find you?
Man, I
Just
really
check your mom's place.
got him.
Hobo, how can people find you?
Twitch.tv/Hobo Sorcerer if you want to see me be angry at people for 3 hours.
Kheim, where can people find you?
Nowhere because I don't stream. I stream once a year.
Cringe. IMO, TBH, disgusting.
Lamau.
And the Dashing Saint, I've already shouted you out in the Twitch, but please go follow the Dashing Saint on Twitch.
And you can also find me at twitch.tv/the_grim_.
Were you making monkey noises these past few streams? Have you pulled a Grim on it, is it?
No, but what I just did to Hobo should be considered war crimes, and I'm sorry.
And of course, the podcast I recently did with the Dashing Saint can be found here on his YouTube. Thank you all so much, everyone. I love you all. Where are we going to...
I forgot. I nearly forgot.